Kiara Monroe always knew she wasn't like everyone else. Raised on the south side of Atlanta, she had grown up with more noise than silence: gunshots, sirens, arguments leaking through thin apartment walls. But even in all that chaos, she found rhythm. While other kids played outside, Kiara would sit by her bedroom window, writing rhymes in a notebook passed down from her older brother. Music became her weapon, her armor, and her voice. By 24, she had transformed from a quiet, observant girl into Kamo Savage, a rising figure in the underground rap scene. Her bars were sharp, often laced with pain and defiance. She wasn't afraid to talk about things others avoided: abuse, manipulation, betrayal. Her sound was raw and real. She didn't use auto-tune, and she didn't need flashy videos. Her fans loved her because she said what they were too afraid to. She carried herself with confidence, but behind the swagger was someone who had been through more than anyone knew. Kiara's rise didn't come easy. She worked part-time shifts at a local coffee shop, surviving on tips while pouring all her extra money into studio sessions. Her home setup was basic: a used microphone, egg crate foam on the walls, and a second-hand laptop that overheated if she recorded too long. But it didn't matter. She had fire in her voice and truth in her lyrics, and people started noticing. Her YouTube videos racked up thousands of views. She performed at local venues, freestyle events, and open mics. Every time she touched the mic, she left the crowd stunned. Behind the scenes, Kiara was tangled in a complicated relationship with Trevin Carter, a well-connected local producer. He was older, slick, and confident. At first, Kiara thought he believed in her talent. He offered her studio time, helped her mix tracks, and introduced her to people in the business. But over time, things shifted. Trevin became controlling. He wanted to decide what she rapped about, how she dressed, even who she followed on social media. He claimed it was for her image, but Kiara felt caged. The relationship soured quickly. They broke up more than once, but Trevin always found his way back through apologies, promises, and threats. Friends warned her he wasn't safe, but she didn't want to believe it. She thought she could handle it. But the final straw came when he tried to stop her from releasing a new song, one that hit too close to home. The track was called Dead Weight. It was her most aggressive song yet. In it, she talked about a lover who promised the world but delivered pain. Someone who used power to manipulate and silence. Fans quickly speculated about who the song was about. Kiara didn't name names, but the clues were there. The verse about the king with a crown made of glass seemed like a direct hit at Trevin, who often referred to himself as the king of ATL beats. The song exploded. Within days, it went viral on TikTok. Her fanbase doubled. Music blogs started writing about her. People were calling her the next big thing. But behind the growing fame was a storm she didn't see coming. Trevin wasn't just angry, he felt exposed. In his eyes, Kiara had humiliated him in front of the very world he helped her step into. And for someone like him, public humiliation was unforgivable. While Kiara celebrated her success, a silent danger began to creep closer. The lyrics that made her famous were also painting a target on her back. What she thought was just music was about to become something much darker. The success of Dead Weight lit a fire Kiara had been waiting years to spark. Her inbox filled with invitations from local shows, podcasts, and even a few minor record labels. It felt like everything she had worked for was finally happening. She walked differently now, head higher, steps stronger. But beneath that rising confidence, shadows were forming around her that she didn't fully see. After the song dropped, whispers started in the Atlanta music circles. Everyone had an opinion on who the song was about. Some praised her for being brave, others warned her she was playing a dangerous game. Though she never confirmed the subject of the song, everyone knew it pointed to Trevin Carter. He had produced several of her early tracks, and their messy relationship wasn't exactly a secret. People began talking more about the drama than the music. Trevin's reaction wasn't just about pride, it was about power. His name wasn't mentioned, but the connections were obvious. In his world, reputation was everything. Losing face in front of other producers, artists, and promoters felt like a direct attack. He started making calls, quietly trying to freeze her out. A couple of DJs who had promised to play her new track suddenly backed off. A local venue canceled her appearance last minute with no explanation. She knew something was off, but she didn't have proof. Meanwhile, strange things began to happen. One night, after leaving a recording session, Kiara noticed a car following her for several blocks. She turned and switched lanes multiple times, but the car stayed behind until it suddenly veered off down a side street. A few days later, her studio door was found slightly open when she returned from the store. Nothing had been taken, but some of her lyric sheets were missing. It felt personal. She started receiving anonymous DMs on Instagram. Some were vague and cryptic. "You went too far." Others were more direct. "The next track might be your last." Kiara blocked the accounts and kept moving forward. She told herself it was just trolls, haters who couldn't handle a woman rising in a male-dominated space. But the sense of being watched wouldn't go away. Despite the fear creeping in, she didn't stop. If anything, she became more determined. Her next single was a follow-up to Dead Weight, and this time she was even bolder. The lyrics cut deeper, with references to betrayal, secrets, and threats. Her fans praised her for not backing down. To them, she was fearless. But behind the public image, Kiara had started locking her doors more carefully and checking over her shoulder when walking home at night. One evening, while driving home from a rehearsal, she noticed her tires felt odd. She pulled over and found two of them slashed clean through. She called a tow truck and waited for over an hour on a dark side street. No one stopped to help. When the tow finally arrived, the driver asked if she had enemies. She didn't know how to answer. She reported the incident to the police, but with no suspects and no cameras in the area, there wasn't much they could do. They filed the report and moved on. It felt like a warning, a message that someone was getting closer. Still, Kiara posted a short video the next day, teasing her next single with the caption, "They want me silent. I choose loud." Her defiance was real, but so was the danger. And in the shadows, someone was watching her every move, waiting for the right moment to make her silence permanent. The night Kiara disappeared was quiet, almost eerily so. She had posted a short clip on Instagram earlier that evening, rapping a few lines from her upcoming song. Her energy in the video was bold, unapologetic, and full of fire. The caption read, "If the truth hurts, then listen closer." It was the last post she would ever make. Around 10 p.m., Kiara left her apartment to meet a fellow artist at a local recording studio. She texted her friend that she was on her way and would arrive in 20 minutes, but she never showed up. Her phone stopped responding shortly after. At first, her friend assumed she had run late or changed plans. But when hours passed with no word, the unease grew. By morning, her car was found abandoned in a remote area near an old warehouse district. The location was strange. It was far from the studio she was supposed to be heading to and not along any normal route she would have taken. Her purse and phone were inside the car, untouched. The driver's seat was pushed far back, suggesting someone else had driven it. The keys were missing. Police were called and arrived on the scene within the hour. Nothing about the scene suggested a robbery. No broken glass, no signs of struggle inside the vehicle. It looked like someone had parked it calmly and walked away. Investigators canvassed the area, but it was deserted. The buildings nearby had long been abandoned, their windows shattered, graffiti coating the walls. By midday, Kiara's face was all over social media. Her fans were panicking. The hashtag #FindKiara began trending on Twitter and Instagram. Fellow artists posted her photo, urging anyone with information to come forward. Her mother, barely able to speak through tears, appeared in a local news interview pleading for help. Her family knew Kiara didn't just vanish. Something had happened to her. Asterisk. Over the next 2 days, volunteers joined the search. Flyers were passed out, wooded areas combed through, and calls flooded into the police department. Still, there were no leads. No one had seen her after 10 p.m. that night. Her phone remained off. Her bank accounts were untouched. The silence was deafening. Then came the discovery. 2 joggers taking a shortcut through a neglected alley behind the same warehouse district spotted something in the brush. A lifeless body, partially covered by debris. The police were called immediately. It was Kiara. She had been shot twice in the chest. No other visible injuries, no defensive wounds. It appeared swift, cold, and calculated. Her jewelry was missing, but her nails were freshly done, and her clothes were intact. There was no sign of sexual assault or robbery. This wasn't random. The medical examiner ruled the death a homicide, likely committed by someone she knew. There were no shell casings left behind. Whoever had done it had cleaned up carefully. Police cordoned off the area, collecting every scrap of evidence they could find. The city mourned. The local music scene went quiet, and her fans, still shocked, flooded her old posts with messages of love, disbelief, and anger. Though the investigation had only just begun, the message was clear. This was personal. Someone wanted her gone, and they had made sure she wouldn't speak again. The lyrics that had once given her power had now made her a target. Her voice had been silenced, but her story was far from over. Asterisk detectives assigned to Kiara Monroe's case knew from the start that this wasn't a random act of violence. The location of the body, the untouched purse, the deliberate placement of the car all pointed to someone with a plan. Someone who knew her. As the city mourned the loss of a rising star, law enforcement began the careful process of piecing together the final days of her life. The first step was Kiara's phone. Though found inside her abandoned car, it had been wiped clean. No call logs, no messages. But forensic techs managed to recover deleted files from the device's memory. Buried deep in the system were fragments of threatening messages, all from anonymous accounts. Phrases like, "You're playing with fire, and this is your only warning," painted a picture of rising tension in the days before her death. All the accounts had been deactivated shortly after she went missing, and tracing them proved difficult. However, one of the IP addresses used to send the messages was linked to an apartment registered under the name of Trevin Carter's cousin. This wasn't the first time Trevin's name had come up. Though he denied any involvement, the circumstantial evidence was growing. Phone records showed he had attempted to contact Kiara multiple times in the days before her disappearance. Several of the calls were made in the early hours of the morning hours when she wasn't active online or responding to anyone else. Detectives also noted that Trevin's social media had gone dark shortly after Kiara released her song Dead Weight, and he hadn't posted since. Investigators brought him in for questioning. Trevin claimed he hadn't spoken to Kiara in over a week and had been out of town on the night she went missing, but his alibi quickly began to fall apart. He said he was working on a project in Macon, Georgia, yet phone tower data placed him in Atlanta during the same time Kiara vanished. More importantly, a cell tower near the warehouse pinged his phone less than 3 hours after Kiara's last known activity. With a search warrant in hand, police examined Trevin's apartment. Inside, they found a hoodie that matched the blurry security footage pulled from a nearby street camera, the same camera that caught someone parking Kiara's car before walking away. Lab tests revealed gunpowder residue on the sleeve. Tucked beneath a floorboard, officers discovered a second phone one Trevin hadn't disclosed. The phone had been factory reset, but tech experts managed to pull back fragments of deleted data, including photos, location data, and text messages that placed Trevin near Kiara's studio and the warehouse days before the murder. Still, Something didn't sit right with detectives. The planning behind the crime felt too polished for a man acting alone out of jealousy or pride. So they dug deeper into the hidden phone, hoping to find more. What they uncovered next was a voice recording. It appeared to be an audio file, recorded by mistake, as if the phone had been left on during a conversation. In it, Trevin could be heard speaking to another person. The voice was clear, female, and strangely familiar. The woman warned Trevin that Kiara was going to expose things in her next track that could end both of them. She said, "You either handle it or I will." Investigators used voice matching software to analyze the recording. The match came back as 92% positive for a local rapper known as VVS. Rival of Kiara's who had recently disappeared from the scene. She had once been seen arguing with Kiara at an open mic night over a verse that never made it to a track. The case had just taken a darker turn. Kiara's murder was no longer just about revenge. It was about secrets, betrayal, and a collaboration between two people who saw her voice as a threat to their reputations. Asterisk. The revelation of the voice recording changed everything. What had seemed like a crime driven by jealousy now pointed toward a calculated conspiracy. Detectives refocused their investigation, no longer just on Trevin Carter, but also on VV's real name, Nia Langford. Once known for her flashy image and slick bars, Nia had vanished from the spotlight just weeks before Kiara's death. Now it seemed her absence wasn't due to career struggles, but fear of exposure. The recovered audio made it clear that Kiara had information that threatened both Trevin and Nia. Though the recording was brief, the fear in Nia's voice was unmistakable. She talked about a verse Kiara was planning to release, one that could ruin her. Detectives now believed that the upcoming single Kiara had teased on Instagram wasn't just another diss track. It was a lyrical confession, holding details neither Trevin nor Nia wanted the world to hear. Digging into Kiara's laptop, which had been seized from her apartment, authorities found unreleased music files, journals, and drafts of her upcoming song. The lyrics, still incomplete, hinted at a scandal involving Trevin and Nia. Lines alluded to drug money being laundered through fake studio contracts, threats made behind closed doors, and even mentions of a deal signed in silence. If the song had dropped, it could have sparked a chain reaction in Atlanta's underground music world, exposing illegal deals and powerful connections. Further analysis of the deleted files on Trevin's hidden phone revealed that he and Nia had exchanged encrypted messages weeks before Kiara's death. The content suggested that Nia had discovered Kiara's plan to drop the track and warned Trevin that she needed to be shut down before Friday. That Friday was the day Kiara had scheduled to film the full video for her next single. She never made it. Police issued a warrant for Nia Langford's arrest. It took 2 days to find her. She had been hiding in Alabama, staying with a distant cousin, and using a fake name. When she was brought in, she denied everything. She claimed the voice in the recording wasn't hers. But the voice match paired with text evidence left little room for doubt. Confronted with mounting evidence, Trevin finally cracked. In a quiet, emotionless confession, he admitted to driving Kiara to the warehouse under the pretense of talking things out. He said she agreed to meet after he begged her for a truce. But once they were alone, he confronted her about the song. When she refused to back down, he pulled the trigger. He claimed it was an impulsive act, but investigators knew better. The parking, the wiped phone, the erased messages, it was all planned. The final twist came when detectives asked why he hadn't. She just ignored the track or tried to counter it publicly. His answer was chilling. Because she was telling the truth, and the truth doesn't die quietly. The trial for both Trevin and Nia drew national attention. Fans of Kiara filled the courtroom, wearing shirts with her lyrics. The prosecution laid out the entire timeline, how jealousy, fear of exposure, and pride turned into premeditated murder. Both were found guilty. Trevin received life without parole. Nia was sentenced to 20 years for her role in the conspiracy. Kiara's music, once a symbol of defiance, became her legacy. The unreleased track was eventually published by her family, titled Final Verse. It climbed the charts, not because of her death, but because of her truth. She had seen what was coming. Her lyrics were more than art, they were evidence. Kiara Monroe didn't get to finish her journey, but her voice continues to echo. Her courage to speak up, even knowing the risks, transformed her from a rising rapper into a symbol of fearless truth. And though her story ended in silence, her words still speak volumes.